right now the defense is cross-examining the former attorney for Stormy Daniels. Trump, however, appears concerned about reports that he's falling asleep. Just before court resumed moments ago, he posted on Truth Social the following quote: "I don't fall asleep during the crooked DA's witch hunt, especially not today. I simply close my beautiful blue eyes, sometimes listen intensely, and take it all in." 3 exclamation points. Joining us now is reporter Elena Treen, who's been following the Trump campaign here, this entire campaign, and CNN political commentator, Republican strategist, and former Trump campaign advisor, David Urban. All right, so David, I have to say, I was in the courtroom the other day, and I saw him lean back, sometimes closing. I saw that. I actually just am going to take this very seriously for 1 second and say, it did not appear to me that he was ever sleeping. He was paying attention just in various positions. However, the way he chooses to do this and focus on his beautiful blue eyes and the optics, he cares about the optics, David.
Yeah, look, that's a classic Trump kind of tweet, right? About this. He's trying to make light of the situation a little bit and say, look, I'm not sleeping. Although I have to say, he's sitting there for hours and hours and hours without a Diet Coke. It's probably killing him, right? It's probably killing him. He's usually, I'm sure, very caffeinated during the day, and as folks who know, who drink Cokes and Diet Cokes, if you're missing 1 or 2 a day, let alone, I'm sure he's missing probably about 10 a day. It's probably rough.
I will say, the other day at the time when they played a C-SPAN video of Trump, and there's a screen right in front of him, and at that point, David, he's leaning in really close to look at it. There were moments when he's incredibly engaged and paying attention, but frequently talking to his lawyers. Again, certainly doesn't seem like he's sleeping. But Elena, all of this is, to David's point, he's spending his entire day sitting in a courtroom in a deeply uncomfortable chair, and you're on the campaign trail where he isn't. So what are you hearing from voters about this trial? Are they paying attention to it? Do they care about it? Do they notice that he's not out with them?
It's really interesting. I was in Wisconsin yesterday for the first of 2 of Donald Trump's rallies, and I asked voters that exact question. I asked many of them, are you paying attention to this trial? What do you make of it? The majority of them, and of course these are Trump supporters, the type of people who show up on a Wednesday, take off work to go to his campaign events, the majority of them said, we're not really paying attention. I don't think there's any point to this. They couldn't even really tell me what the trial was about, except to say that they think it's a sham and that they don't think it's worth their attention. But there were also some other Trump supporters who said, look, I think, I am watching this. I sometimes watch CNN. I watch it on Fox News. And they said they repeated the same lines that we hear from Donald Trump. Now, apart from that, from other voters, and sometimes when I'm catching up with other people at different events, like outside different campaign events that aren't just for Donald Trump, they argue that, look, I think this is a hard trial for them to grasp in some respects because the optics around this trial as well. It's obviously the first criminal trial that a former president has ever faced. It's unprecedented, and they recognize that point, but they're still unsure of whether or not that would change their overall opinion of Donald Trump. And that's something I've been really trying to pay attention to a lot, to take a step back and see how is this actually playing with voters, because we're obviously, Aaron, paying such close attention to this and all of the minute details of what is going on. But I think a lot of America isn't. And so it's one good thing to keep in mind, particularly when you talk about the politics of this.
Yeah, and important. David, also the tweet itself, or, I'm sorry, whatever, the post on Truth Social.
Truth Social.
It said, right, the crooked or witch hunt DA, whatever, those are the words that are always used. But this case was about the DA. And just to be clear, obviously Trump can say what he wants about the DA and the judge. That doesn't violate the gag order. He has been, it appears, more careful in the past few days about things he's been posting and saying. They've been specifically about the DA and the judge. Now, we know he didn't care about $9,000 fine, but the judge said jail could be next. Do you think that, from what you're seeing, it appears that Trump is taking this seriously?
Yeah, I think, that the president understands that he can. Listen, the one thing I think it bothers him is that he can't punch back on Michael Cohen, right? He feels it's unfair that Michael Cohen can go on social media for hours a day and kind of take an axe to him, and he can't punch
Although
back.
Michael Cohen has said he's not going to do that now.
Well, let's wait and see, right? Let's wait and see. He was on last night on social media. So, but you're right. He can rail against a lot of things, and it's well within it's in the confines of the order. And I think he's He's probably, it's been explained to him, and I think he's just he'll continue down that path. And to the extent that the narrative continues to just feed that it's lawfare just by being continued against him, the tweets will continue in that vein.
All right. Well, Elena, David, thank you both very much.